Have you ever made a small little stupid mistake and then every negative pattern you have just comes and takes over your whole day? It's not anxiety, it's more like shutdown or collapse. The afternoon's gone, the evening's gone, and it starts to confirm things that I've been telling myself about myself for, my whole life. Last week was the first time in my life that I actually kind of turned one of these around midday. I used 6 practices that I want to tell you about that really help to stop it in its tracks. Your nervous system runs your life, and you can either learn to run it or work with it so it doesn't run you. Hi, I'm Steve Saporn. Welcome to the Neuro's Journey. So have you ever made like a small little stupid mistake and then every negative pattern you have just comes and takes over your whole day? That's been a pattern that's happened for me for a long time. And it feels like this oncoming tide. And honestly, it feels a lot like my former heavy addiction in the sense that I would kind of tell myself that I wasn't going to give into it, but deep down inside I would. And this is more, it's not anxiety, it's more like shutdown or collapse. And eventually the afternoon's gone, the evening's gone, and it starts to confirm things that I've been telling myself about myself for, my whole life. And since I was a little kid, like I'm less than, there's something wrong with me. And each time it happens, sort of the case in my mind gets stronger. And so what I want to talk about is actually last week was the first time in my life that I actually kind of turned one of these around midday. And I turned a day that, I know from 50 years of having them was going to be one that made me feel worse about myself. And I used 6 practices that I want to tell you about that really help to stop it in its tracks. And, I don't want to get too oriented around the 6 practices. They are really important. I think what's more important, at least for me, is to understand the system in which you're dealing with. Essentially, all of these things, whether it's depression, anxiety, these things that take you out of your natural, calm, set point, they're narrowing your focus, right? And you get looping thoughts and you can't stop thinking about something, or you're anxious about this. And what it's doing is it's bringing all of your awareness into a more narrow state. And what I found is if you can understand that and work with it to expand your awareness, you can actually pull yourself out of it. So I look at all the things that I do. It's either it's a wisdom practice, like is there something about this that like I can learn, Then there's the science behind the practices themselves. They're all science-based. And then heart, which I would say is loving heart. You got to love yourself. And also courage, like I got to have the heart to do something. And, at the end of the day, your nervous system runs your life. And you can either learn to run it or work with it so it doesn't run you. Let me tell you what happened. I was recording an episode with Dr. Will Vanderveer. He's an awesome guy. New York Times best-selling author, psychiatrist. We had a great conversation on psychedelics and purpose and his experiences. And, and just generally as a guy, I really like him. He lives in Boulder. We have a budding friendship. I wanted to be his friend. I was a little, honestly, more nervous or had more stuff up about this episode than most. And I was really happy with it. We had a great time. I thought it came out really well. And I send it to my editors and they come back to me and say, Will's mic is dead. There's no audio. And man, just on a dime from a day that is everything's feeling good and I'm happy to this like oncoming fucking gloom, or whatever. And really, it's like, if I'd have really thought about it, like the editors know how to fix things and they did fix it. But it didn't really matter. It was like this little pebble. It wasn't a catastrophe. Nobody died, but it launched kind of the whole thing. And, typically these days just are oriented around numbing, and it used to be before like heavy addiction. Now it's less, but it's like I'm curled up on the couch and I'm scrolling on my phone or watching a movie and eating shitty food and just not being like my full self. That narrow thing is kind of taken over. And I think that I was oriented around either some big experience, some psychedelic thing, or some new technique, or whatever was going to just change things for me. Like, oh, I was going to learn this breath work and everything was going to change. And really, that's not my experience with, changing of traits, right? So you have states, which is how you are, and certainly all of these practices for me individually change my state at that time. Meditation, breath work, whatever it is, it changes it. But then I go back to my old traits, which is the thing that keeps coming up. And the really cool thing about this day is it wasn't just like some one technique that I used. It was sort of like everything that I'd been practicing and learning and working with, and my knowledge of the system all sort of came, and it kind of came and found me. So the first thing I did, as far as like wisdom, I said, all right, what could be the benefit of this actually happening? Like my life is a spiritual curriculum. Everything that happens to me is happening for a reason. Like, let me actually fucking do that in real time. And I was like, well, maybe it's just an opportunity to actually work with this. I said, all right, I'm going to start doing my practices. So the first thing I did was alternate nostril breathing. So it's yogic breathing technique where and I'll do a video on it, but you're basically breathing in and out between opposite nostrils and moving back and forth. So it's engaging both hemispheres of your brain. Your out breaths are longer than your in breaths, so your vagus nerve is getting calmer. And I went in from that into meditation. And then specifically as part of my meditation is a loving kindness thing. So meditation is obviously, it's proven, it engages your prefrontal cortex. That's kind of the part of your brain that tells you what's going on and makes sense of difficult things so you don't fall into despair. And then the other part of it, so that's kind of the science part. The other part of that meditation, the hard part, is the loving kindness. I was just giving myself and other people's love. I was giving myself a fucking break. And I turn on this awesome musician, Fia, who's really inspirational, and her lyrics are wise and kind of got me going. I was like, all right, feeling a little better. I'm not going to get into my thing. So I decided to ride my bike to the gym and do sauna and cold plunge. And the bike outside, this is like also science. It's expanding your horizon, not letting yourself get Neuro. The rhythmic movement of it, it's burning the kind of stress chemistry. I'm out in the open horizon. I'm seeing a lot of things. I'm not getting narrow. And then I get to the gym and I do sauna and cold plunge, which are basically this contrast theory, teaching my body. It's like, creating a stress and then recovering and spiking things and bringing them down, and sort of just learning that, like, okay, I can have something difficult happen and I can come back in. And over time, these things expand your window of tolerance. And the window of tolerance is just like when your nervous system is in its calmer state, the one that you want. And when you live there, everything is good. And when you get into these other states is when all the fucking problems happening. And so at the core of these, every one of them does the same things. The fear state is narrow. These things try to widen you out of it, take you out of it in some way. And so I just want you to know, like, if you have this experience, you are not resigned to this collapse. And look, I'm 57. My life has improved in so many ways, so I have fewer of these episodes. My anxiety is basically gone, but this is still something that's happening. So, don't worry about where you are. You can always get better. And you can, by doing these things over and over, make them such a part of your system that they come and sort of find you. That's what it felt like. It felt like, oh my God, I've done this work enough where it's finding me. I don't have to kind of reach for it. And the point is like not the 6 things, even though they are all really great and I practice them all. It's sort of understanding the principle and saying like, I have some agency over this. And so what I've done and what has been transformational for me, and I'm encouraging you to do, is just like make a choice every day. Like I'm gonna understand my particular nervous system on purpose so it doesn't leak out all over the fucking people who love me and depend on me, my partner, my kids, the people that work for you, whatever. And to me, it's a version of masculinity that we can all orient around. I'm gonna have the courage and the determination to go inside and deal with my own shit so I'm a better person and I start to positively impact the people around me. And that's what the Neuro's journey is all about. It's about encouraging other men to make this choice because it feels so good. And I feel so blessed to be here and so blessed that you would watch this thing. If you've watched it to the end, thank you so much. This is the Neuro's journey. It's happening every Wednesday. Yeah, I'd really love it if you tune in and share it with some people and like and subscribe and follow and do all that stuff. Thank you so much.